Hey, hi, and howdy to all my sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, I'm Courtney, and it is time to see what I serve my family for dinner. I put out these videos every single Saturday, and I love to share the meals that I made. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5. I'm finding that we are in a very busy season of life right now, so my videos have been more like 3 meals per week. We eat a lot of leftovers. There's no shame in the leftover game, y'all. If you're into this kind of content or grocery hauls, I also do meal prep videos on Thursday. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around. All right, let's get cooking. So first off this week, we are making Big Mac wraps. I was actually going to make these the week before, but I did not get to them. I was actually really looking forward to them though. So they are at the top of my list for this week. So Monday I popped in the kitchen and got going with these. I started by browning a pound of ground beef, and to that I added a little beef base. You could use beef bouillon if that's what you have. Recently I have seen a lot of people adding in like chicken bouillon and beef bouillon to really kind of kick up the flavor of things that they are cooking. And I've been trying it here and there with a few different things. And I gotta say, y'all, it makes a huge difference. So I just did a teaspoon of beef base. I use the Members Mark one. It's like kind of a gel. It seems like that's the best way to paste. But you could use the powdered granules, whatever you have. I also added in salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and a little bit of paprika. And then I let this just kind of cook and develop a little bit of color as, you know, I went along. I wanted it to have a great flavor and kind of taste a little bit like burgers. There is my dill pickle salad kit I am using. So I do have lettuce in my fridge, but it's kind of one of those, I need to use this up. And Big Mac has cheese or has pickles on it, so why not? So I just went ahead and threw that dill pickle salad kit together, and I'm going to use that in place of the pickles and the lettuce. So I took out a tortilla, and I started by putting a pretty generous layer of my ground beef hamburger mixture on the bottom. Then I'm going to go ahead and add on some ketchup because the Big Mac sauce is like kind of like Thousand Island dressing, which I'm not using because I'm using this dill pickle kit with the dill pickle dressing in there. But just mixing the ketchup in there with this did it. This was so close to a Big Mac. Then I tossed on some diced little cherry tomatoes I have. Pro tip, add a little bit of salt to your tomatoes after you've diced them and let them sit for about 10 minutes, then drain the liquid. They taste amazing and they're not as juicy, so they don't kind of like drown everything you put them in. I did have some little crispy dill pickle sprinkle things that go with the salad, so I threw them in there for funsies. They give a little texture. I rolled this up like you would if you were doing like a grilled stuffed burrito. I went ahead and put a little bit of butter in the bottom of my skillet and placed my wrap seam side down and let it just kind of cook in the skillet in the butter. I kind of spun it around to wipe up the excess butter in the pan a little bit, just so that it would soak it all up and it would brown and it would toast and it would be beautiful. This helps to kind of seal the seam shut and develop some great crispy flavor on the outside with the tortilla. You can see just a little bit golden brown there. I didn't want to go too far with it. Adding a little bit more butter in there, and we'll do the other side just so we have like, you know, some consistency on both sides. This was so good. I highly recommend this. And I gotta say, I think that dill pickle salad kit was even better than lettuce, so definitely consider giving that a shot when you make it. All right, y'all, it is time to move on to our next dish. This is honey lime enchiladas. I was really interested in this one when I saw it not too long ago. I think I was watching the WODs a couple of weeks ago and she made it. You're supposed to use pre-cooked chicken, boiled chicken. I buy rotisserie chickens at Sam's every single week because I make dog food with them and stuff. So I just went ahead and used some of the leftover rotisserie chicken for this. And then I have quite a bit of lime juice, and to that I added quite a bit of honey and some of my confit garlic. I will go ahead and link all the recipes for everything I'm making down below so you guys can see the originals, because sometimes I do substitute things just because things I need to use up or things I'm out of or whatever the case may be. I try to plan my meals, but sometimes I forget ingredients or I have things that need to be used up. It's just the way it is when you're, you know, cooking at home. So to that marinade, I also added a little bit of chili powder, and then I poured that over my shredded rotisserie chicken. I'm just using the rotisserie chicken breasts. A lot of times that's what I will do is I'll buy 2 chickens and I'll remove all 4 of the breasts from the chicken. I'll shred up everything else for my dog food and just use the chicken breast for like chicken salad or KFC bowls or something simple like that over the weekend. And this particular day I'm making these enchiladas. So I got some green chili enchilada sauce. Use your favorite one. I couldn't find my favorite. My favorite is seasoned with roasted garlic and it tastes amazing, but I could not find it. You could do this with red sauce if you really want it to, but I do think that green enchilada sauce does pair much better with chicken. So I'm just basically rolling burritos at this point. You can use flour or corn tortillas. Corn tortillas are more traditional when it comes to enchiladas. The flour tortillas are more like a smothered burrito. I was using what I had. I buy these fresh tortillas at H-E-B. It's just the dough, and you have to cook them yourself. So I had a few left over from a meal I made a little while ago, and they were going to expire soon. So I really did need to use these up. So I opted to go ahead and make these using the flour tortillas. And I think that was really a fun way to do it because it did kind of make it a little bit different than traditional enchiladas for us. But I just packed in a bunch of chicken and rolled them up and put them in the bottom of that dish there. I did put some green enchilada sauce on the bottom. It just kind of helps prevent sticking and flavors all the way through. I'm not putting cheese in these. You can if you want to. You can add green chilies in there. You can add some of your enchilada sauce if you want to. I opted to not do that this time. I really am just rolling up the chicken in the flour tortillas. And then I'm making 2 separate batches, which you'll see here in a minute, because in my household, some of us like cheese and some of us do not. I wanted to make sure that everybody got to eat these because everyone in my house likes like chicken burritos and chicken tacos and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that everyone got to eat this dish in one way or another. So I went ahead and did a second batch for mostly my oldest son because he's the one that doesn't eat the cheese. I did his exactly the same. I just did not top them with cheese like I will do ours. And like I said, none of these had cheese rolled up on the inside, but you could totally do that. Or you could put in like black beans and bell peppers or green chilies and onions, like whatever your heart desires. This really is kind of one of those blank canvas meals. It's a great start. And this chicken had amazing flavor. But feel free to add anything you think would be great. I really think that like corn and black beans and a little bit of onion would have totally been fantastic in this because I think that pairs beautifully with, I mean, like any kind of Mexican inspired dish, but especially chicken. Anyway, once you have everything rolled, then you just top it with some more of your green chili enchilada sauce or red if that is what you have decided to use. And then you can put some cheese on top if you are going to eat cheese with yours. I do like to be like really careful with my enchiladas or smothered burritos and make sure that the outer edges all get a really nice coating of sauce and cheese just because they can tend to get like a little bit hard. Not crispy in a nice way, but hard in a way that's just like uncomfortable to chew on sometimes. Whether I'm using flour or corn tortillas, that's just the way I always do it. You can see me there just like carefully spooning the sauce around the edges there just to make sure it gets down in the corners and the nooks and covers those sides so they don't get like weird and hard and funky. I am generous with the enchilada sauce because I love green chili enchilada sauce, and these do soak up a lot because I did not put any on the inside. If you put some on the inside, you might not need quite as much on top, but I did not. And then here I go with my cheese. I'm also pretty generous with the cheese. Like, I'm not even going to apologize about it. I could have done more cheese, and typically if I was not filming, I probably would have. But for y'all, I tried to show like a little bit of self-control there. Then I just baked them for about 20 minutes, 350. That's what they look like. And I served them with some seasoned black beans. Fantastic, really good, so much flavor, and very easy to make, especially if you're doing flour tortillas because you don't have to like prep them and fry them in oil like you would with corn. All right, our last meal of the week. I think this is called frickadella. I might be totally mispronouncing that, and I am so sorry if I am. But this was my favorite meal of the week. It might have been my husband's favorite meal too. My oldest son, Xander, loved the meat patties and the sauce, but he doesn't really care for egg noodles. So if I had served it with like rice or mashed potatoes or a different type of noodle, I think it would have been his favorite as well. So I'm going to link the recipe down below. I am not quite doubling, but making more than the recipe calls for. So I'm kind of winging it as far as the amounts go when I'm adding things in here. But basically you start with some ground beef and you add in some flour, some egg, and some onion powder, some salt, and some pepper. Now the recipe does say to use a stand mixer to do this. Unfortunately, my stand mixer fell apart. If you saw my meal prep video, you could see at the end of making the cookies that it was not rotating properly. And then when I tried to mess with it, like the whole contraption that holds the mixing pieces just fell apart. My husband said he would look at it and see if he could fix it, and if not, I will have to get a new one. So we are currently like back to the 1800s doing it all by hand in my kitchen right now, which is a challenge because I'm mighty spoiled with my stand mixer. Anyway, we're going to work this with our hands, and we're slowly adding in our milk. I think the recipe called for like heavy cream. I am adding in, no, it called for half and half. I am using evaporated milk in its place because I have a bunch of it in my pantry. I tend to stock up on it when it's on sale because I do a lot of holiday baking, and it all takes different types of things, and evaporated milk is one of those ingredients. As I was mixing, I did kind of feel like it needed something green, so I threw in a bit of dried parsley. And then I just shaped these fun little patties, like nothing professional, nothing special, just simple little patties. And then I put some oil in my skillet, turned it on, and put them in there and let them go to town cooking. I tried to leave them without touching them for about 5 minutes per side, so they would get that nice like Maillard effect where they get golden and crispy and brown and delicious. So, so good. These were so flavorful. The amount of onion powder that I put in there, you're supposed to put in onions, like shredded onions. And I was not in the mood to have to chop an onion on this particular day. The ones I have right now, these sweet yellow onions from Sam's Club, are mighty strong. And they make me cry real tears for a long time. And I just wasn't in the mood for that. So I went with onion powder. And I think I would almost say, like, use the onion powder, y'all. I did pretty close to a tablespoon of it because, like I said, I was supposed to be replicating this recipe using like whole onion. And so I knew it was supposed to be pretty strong with onion flavor. And I thought this was fabulous. My whole family loved it. So these patties are pretty much done cooking. It's okay if they're a little undercooked. We're going to put them back in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and remove them from the pan, and then I'm going to drain out a lot of this liquid. We've got the oil that was in the pan when I put them in there, plus the grease that came from the ground beef. So I just kind of wiped it out. I didn't wash it or anything, just wiped it out to get a lot of that grease and stuff out of there. And now we're going to start on the sauce. So I started off by melting a couple of tablespoons of butter in a really nice hot skillet. We're going to make a roux, so I'm adding in some flour. And because, like I said, I am like kind of doubling this, especially on the sauce. I find when recipes make sauce, a lot of times they don't make enough sauce. Like maybe we just like to eat a lot of sauce in my house. I don't know. I've seen other people comment about that as well. So I typically will kind of like bump up the amounts that I put when it comes to sauces, just because I know I want more. So I've worked on my roux here. It's just flour and butter. We're letting this toast for a minute just to kind of cook out that flour taste so it doesn't taste like paste. You really just need a minute or two. You want to watch your color here. It's okay if it turns like a nice golden brown and stuff, but you don't want it getting a dark brown. That means you're burning it. That means you have to throw it out and start all over again because it won't taste good. Next, I'm adding in some evaporated milk. You're supposed to be adding in heavy cream, but I had a little bit of evaporated milk left in this can, and I didn't want to waste it, so I added that in, and then I'm adding in what's supposed to be chicken broth, but of course you guys know I do bouillon, so I added in water, and now I'm adding in my chicken bouillon cubes. They'll break down in here. No big deal. Not going to worry about it. Give them a minute in that liquid, and you can just kind of crush them with your whisk, and they fall right apart. And I'm going to let this kind of cook and thicken up and everything. This was fabulous. This has a really different flavor than what I would have expected, because here in a minute we're going to add a fun different ingredient. It calls for brown sugar, which I was like, brown sugar? Okay, that's new. It also calls for lemon juice, which is what I just added. And it sounds strange, but it does something magical. Like it really, really, really does. I know it sounds kind of weird, just go with it. The lemon juice, I didn't get like a lemony taste, but there was a brightness to this instead of just being heavy from all the milk and stuff. And then there was a bit of sweetness that was so beautiful with the super savory meat patties. The onion and the beefiness came through really, really well in the meat patties. And the sweetness, like it's a light sweetness, and the richness of the sauce, it was kind of a little bit bright with the lemon juice. It was so delicious. I said in I think it was my grocery haul, that I kind of got like beef stroganoff vibes from this. And I think this more leans towards like a Swedish meatball type of flavor. If you like Swedish meatballs, I think you will really, really enjoy this dish. It's really not that hard to make. The sauce takes a little while, and I ran out of evaporated milk. I added a little bit of heavy whipping cream in there, which is what the recipe originally calls for. This was so, so good. I was so impressed with it. I would love to throw in some fresh parsley next time I make this sauce, just because I feel like it needs something green to kind of liven it up a little bit. And I did taste test it and add in just a tiny bit more brown sugar, because with all the bouillon and salting it and everything, it kind of was a little bit sharp there at the end. And like I said, I was like upping the amounts of everything because I knew I wanted extra sauce, and it did come in very handy to have that extra sauce. I kind of had to like adjust things according to taste, but it was fabulous. My family totally enjoyed this one. It was quite a surprise. I put the meat patties back in there and let them finish cooking and just simmer in that sauce for about 15 minutes while I let the noodles cook and drain them and all that kind of stuff. But this was amazing. I loved all the beautiful bright flavor in here. So good. I highly recommend it. Definitely give this one a try. And I just served it with some seasoned broccoli on the side, and that was dinner. All right, y'all, those are the 3 meals that I made this week. We had a lot of leftovers and we were super busy. I know you guys hear me say that all the time. Next week is super busy too, because we're going to go see my parents. So we won't be home, well, myself and my younger two. So I don't know, I'm going to try to fit in 3 meals next week as well. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me here. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye, y'all.